Welcome to Untapped, episode 19. Today we've got the legend Tim Welch, UFC Coach, owns jiu-jitsu and runs Soul Fighters. And we've got Levi Kelly, maybe possibly the best two-sport athlete in the world.
Yep.
It's quite possible, exercise specialist. And Dana Cox, the man on the beats, behind the camera, composition, DJ, performance, and feeling a little crummy today. I've got the cancer effects going on more than normal, but it's all good. So I think I'm gonna need something to kind of get me going. I think a little bit, yeah.
A little medicine, dude.
Might need a little pick me.
Should have seen this fucker training yesterday.
I saw him walk in there.
Tons of rounds. I'm like, holy shit! And you're on the meds, and you're pushing it like that.
Well, I am Kyle Hanan, the world record holder, surviving the most chemotherapy, and also the cancer patient with the largest biceps. So
was in the gauntlet.
Hell yeah!
The little what was it? 4 guys in a group.
Oh, those 3 guys, those 2-minute rounds, man, those are intense.
Sometimes the young bucks and the brand new white belts give you like harder looks because they're just so spazzy and everything's 0 to 100%. Oh.
Man, I always say I was probably the worst person to fucking train with, like competitive, huge ego, and then like strong.
You were?
Yeah. I'm like, oh, that was pretty rough.
Well, from the first day you came in, you would always give people issues because you were so freakishly strong. Like, you can definitely feel it on people that have been doing athletic stuff and lifting their whole entire lives. Mm-hmm. It's a different kind of strength.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. So we just jump right into some of these. We're so grateful you're here. Thanks for your time, brother.
Yeah, appreciate it.
We've been watching the Red Hawk recap. Man, that's a great podcast. How many episodes are you into now on that?
Tomorrow's number 83.
Whoo!
And it's taken off. I saw 40,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
That's pretty big, yeah.
Dude, the whole YouTube thing is such a sweet thing. It's definitely a job. It's not easy, but it's so sweet that pretty much the amount of effort you put into it, the quality videos, all the title, all the tags, just all those little things trying to improve and stay consistent. It's pretty fun.
Man, I love it. We're grateful to you. We talk about you all the time on the pod. We wouldn't even be doing this if it wasn't for you and Sugar getting the Timbo Sugar Show going and giving us the encouragement to get going, man. We're real grateful for that.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's so crazy kind of what we built here in this little community. And even when I go to a bigger place, even if I do go to a bigger place, I want to make sure there's space for the recharge center and then Art's place too, so we can all stay together. But thinking back to where we were 2-3 years ago, and now we're taking over this little ghetto plaza in Peoria, it's pretty badass.
I remember at the baseball field when I first started training, I was telling everybody about Sean. Like he was still like well known, but everybody's like, "Oh, you're full of shit, whatever. Like you're a super fan, whatever this." And now guys are coming like, "Dude, your boy's pretty good." I'm like, "I fucking told you, motherfucker."
Dude, right? And I mean, at the time, people thinking that he probably wasn't that good, but that kid's so he's so athletic. First of all, he has such good eyes. He has such good reaction time. His balance from southpaw to orthodox is so good, and then he has all those attributes. Plus, his work ethic's crazy. So that's just a recipe for having a kid who's a stud. The biggest thing about him too is in those big moments where a lot of people, there's things go on, like even Cheeto Vera against Corey Sandhagen this weekend. It looked like it was such a big moment for him, maybe, or something. Maybe he overtrained, not sure. But every big moment, Sugar shows up. He shows up in those moments, and that's just the most important part.
Yeah, I think with Cheeto, like, he never turned it on, like, the whole time. And even with Sean, I don't know much about it, but when Sean switches stances, it looks the same. It looks like, oh, he's a southpaw. But when Cheeto would switch, it's like, oh, fuck. When he throws that 2, now it looks awkward. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's most guys. But with Sean, it doesn't look awkward from his other stance.
Yeah, most people think like just because they can stand southpaw and shadow box that they can fight that way. But that's not the case. The big thing about being able to switch stances is not just being able to do the stuff offensively, but having good balance after and having good defense from that opposite stance. And he is good that way. I was thinking with Cheeto, though, I'm like, I wonder if, because the week of the fight, I'm pretty sure they postponed it another 5 weeks later. So I wonder if he just kept grinding through that 5 weeks and was just overtrained, possibly.
Yeah.
Who knows?
That's crazy. Well, recently you were called by Chael Sonnen, who is the undisputed champion, undefeated, the biggest seller of all time of any fighter. You were called the I'm going to paraphrase here a little bit, but the greatest mind of all time in fighting sports, combat, and everything.
Yeah, he said one of them.
Pretty accurate.
One of them. And I mean, and when he says stuff like that, I mean, we did train for a lot. Me and him sparred a lot. We trained a lot together. And I was always like, I was only 20, 21, and 20 years old at the time.
And that was Team Quest in Oregon?
Yeah, that was Team Quest. And I was probably 4-1 as a professional at that time. But I'd always try to call him out as much as I could, try to call him out. Because that was the time he just almost beat Anderson, and he was preparing for the second fight with Anderson Silva. So we did have some good training. But him saying that, it's like everything's going good right now. Everyone's winning. But I've seen this with so many different coaches. They're like, oh, man, he knows everything. He knows all this stuff. And then one of their fighters loses a couple times or something happens. And now they're just, oh, they're the shittiest. They're the dumbass fucking. So I'm like, I don't play into too much of the compliments or the negative stuff.
Yeah. He said something. He was like, when you were training at Team Quest, that he was like, Tim's always hanging around. He's here just asking questions when he was young. And that's what made him. So I took that as like, okay, fuck, I need to do, if I want to be a coach or whatever, like I need to maybe just hang around a little bit, hang an extra hour, ask questions. Because a lot of guys are, oh, fuck, tie my shoes, get the fuck out of here. Mm-hmm. Got to go do whatever else. Mm-hmm. But to just, if you're obsessed, just to be a sponge and absorb like everything you can, that's something I was like, damn, okay, he's got all this knowledge, not just because like, fuck, he woke up and he had it. Like he was obsessed and just asking question to the highest ranked guys at the time.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even still, I have guys coming into the gym, like people like Bryce Meredith, who's a 3-time NCAA finalist, 4-time All-American, 4-time state champion. We have those types of people coming into the academy. So every time they come in, I'm like, there's some position. There's just so many positions in wrestling and jiu-jitsu and MMA. There's some position I can ask him and pull a little something out of. So I've been so lucky to train with so many good coaches and good training partners, and I'm just pretty much giving the footnotes off what they taught me.
That's nice. What got you into coaching originally? What made you just decide, hey, I just want to go full bore on the coaching?
I think always since I was even a teenager, 19 years old, because I had 10 amateur fights from when I was 18 to 19 years old. So in 1 year I had 10 fights. And then from 19 I went professional. And always from a young age, when we get together, I'd always be the one a little bit running practice and making sure, texting people saying, hey, let's all show up at this time. Even in high school, we used to do crosstown boxing smokers. We'd have our high school versus another high school, or we'd travel an hour and a half and do 3 1-minute round smokers with other teams. And I was always the one recruiting those guys to go do that. So I don't know. I think it's always been just a little bit of a natural thing, trying to be or being the facilitator of the group and trying to just kind of put things together and make them make sense. So full-time coaching, though, that was probably after I broke my jaw. I broke my jaw. And it was such a pain in the ass. And I was so bitter towards fighting because I'm like, I put everything into this, everything in this. I've done everything right. And I'm supposed to fight this guy that I'm supposed to smoke. And then my jaw breaks and it just puts me out. And then I'm starting to get bills from the surgery and stuff. I'm like, now I'm having to pay for this. And I'm sitting here with my jaw wired shut. I was just bitter towards the sport. So I just started reading a lot of Tim Ferriss, a lot of stoicism, and just started just helping out Sugar more and helping out some of the guys at the lab more, and just it just naturally happened. It was so weird.
It seems like around that time you kind of shifted more energy into jiu-jitsu as well. You feel that's the case, and did that help you kind of make that transition?
Yeah. Well, after I broke my jaw, I went and trained with the Brazilians over at when Tiquinho was running the place, and there was just a group of Brazilians, and I'm a purple belt at the time. I think I'm a purple belt, and I'm going with all these black belts and brown belts that speak Portuguese. Their life has been jiu-jitsu. And I go over there and just got my ass whooped so bad by those guys. We would do 10-minute rounds, 6, sometimes 7, 10-minute rounds, and I would just get throttled. But those guys just love jiu-jitsu so much. After practice, they'd sit around and they'd discuss different positions and different techniques, not like it was just a hobby thing. And that's what kind of attracted me to the sport of jiu-jitsu. And then I started taking Tiquinho's program for a while, and then he gave me my brown belt, and then he offered me a job at one of his affiliate schools to run the program there. And that's when I started kind of putting together my own program. And then that place shut down. It was a boxing gym, and it shut down. And then Ray, one of my blue belt students, said he has a mechanic shop. He's like, I got a mechanic shop I don't really use. It's 900 square feet. So we moved it all, the whole program over to a mechanic shop, $900 a month. And that's where we kind of started with 15 to 16 members. And then I moved over to this other place, and now we're getting close to, a little over 200 members now.
Wow. So that's amazing. We're just so grateful for all of that, because and I want to go back to that part in that time when you broke your jaw, and we try to focus a lot on this podcast about the untapped. When you go into that dark place where you feel like I got nothing left, you're just at the bottom. What do you tap into at that time? And it seems when I hear you talking about jiu-jitsu, you really put yourself into something where you just got humbled. It was very uncomfortable coming out of that mindset. How do you feel? Did that play a huge role? Or maybe you can talk a little bit about how that got you. What did you tap into to get out of that time?
Yeah, I don't know where it's came from, but I've always thought in every bad thing that happened in my life, it always could be worse. I'd always put it into perspective. And I don't know where that came from, but even talking about that jaw, that measly injury and stuff, and then talking about your stuff that you're dealing with, it's like, bro, it's not even on the same fucking level. But it seems like when things like Paul Chek talks about it, it's called like the hero's journey that you go through, and you have to look into that. But it seems like when something traumatic happens to someone, and I forgot where I read this, but that even after someone gets paralyzed or after something bad happens, that 6 months after it happens, they're happier than they were before that happened. Amazing. I'm like, damn, there's something to that. But for me, just learning about stoicism and actually learning the meanings of stoicism and studying some of those philosophers, that kind of helped a lot. And just been always hungry to just learn shit. I don't know.
I really admire how much you speak to the younger group, the 16 to 23-year-olds. And we've even picked up a couple of Jobans that they've given us some feedback. And a lot of that age group right now is really struggling with stuff. They go into an untapped thing, which might not be, we've already gone through a lot of that stuff. Maybe their girlfriend broke up with them, but it can seem like, hey, this is the worst thing ever. Your jaw broke, you're everything that you train for, you're getting these bills. It's so much stress, and they get into that thing for maybe not too much from somebody else, but it's in their own relationship. And I think it's really powerful that, look, he kept it just happens over and over again. That thing of looking ahead 6 months. What's it going to look like in 6 months? Yeah, this happened to me. I lost my job. This happened with my girlfriend. But in 6 months, it's supposed to get better. Things can get better, and trying to keep that mentality to grow towards there. So that's some powerful stuff. I really see you be generous. That's something that's really transferred over to me and impacted me a lot in how I've carried myself in the last 2 years. Kindness and generosity. And what I mean by that is that we're running, you've built a gym now that in just a short amount of time that has become a pretty formidable force of a young team, a lot of young, hungry athletes that are coming up, and they want to come in here and train. They want to be around the greatest mind. They want to do this stuff. And growing this much in a short amount of time, I believe there's something to being generous and being kind. Of course, you got to set a boundary, but the prices at our gym, Soul Fighters Peoria, it's really low compared to a lot of other gyms. Mm-hmm. And I see you also impacted me in our area just around here. I think this is so important to get to know the community. Tim doesn't even talk about it, but I've seen him so many times go out to people that are homeless and just try to connect them, bring them onto the Timbo Sugar Show and stuff like that. Where do you think that you learned that? Is there somebody in your life that impacted you to try to do that, or just?
Yeah, I definitely think my dad, he would always do stuff like that. And I would always see that at a young age. He'd always treat like, even the bums, he'd always be really nice to them and treat them with respect, treat them like they're humans. And a lot of times those homeless people or people, they're a lot cooler people to talk to than some of these tie and suit guys that are just pretty much robots. They're pretty much robots going through the system, and they don't even know, they don't even think for themselves. And then you talk to this homeless person who has a completely different outlook on life, and they're way more interesting to talk to. But I don't know where the kind of generosity came from.
Right on.
It definitely came from my dad, but I don't know really.
You probably saw results from it. I mean, I think it just stands true. There's some business principles, I think, or life principles at work. And sometimes you get yourself into a bad spot or whatever, and just being generous with somebody else, it takes the focus off yourself. And then it always comes back to you somehow, I believe. And I've seen that, I think, in our gym too. There are a lot of people come in and train, and they're down. I gave up everything, and they're hungry. They got the stars in their eyes, and they're going to be the next Sugar Sean or whatever. And you're always kind to them. And after the 1,000th one was walked down the door, I haven't seen you be like, all right, I've had enough of this.
Yeah,
That's good stuff.
Usually people that you have no idea how many messages that I get about. Wow. I'm the next guy. I'm the next guy. I'm the next guy. I'm the next guy. Don't even reply to them. And people come into the gym and say that. Every other young kid comes in and says that. I'm just like, all right, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see if you're here in 2 years and 3 years, and we'll see how you handle getting your ass whooped every single day for a couple years. Some people come back, and the ones that do come back, you're seeing it. We're starting to build a pretty athletic group. We're so young right now, though. The program's still so young. In 4, 5, 6 years, I can't wait to see where some of the athletes are at.
Definitely. And the Joban Network runs deep. So I put out the other day that tomorrow, or late tonight, I'm headed up to Minnesota for a new trial at the original Mayo Clinic. It was built like in 1860. Shout outs to Mayo. So I put that little update in there, and almost immediately I got a response from a guy, Max Ewell, who's a Joban. He follows you guy, and he said, "Hey, Kyle, I'd love to help you out. I'll pick you up from the airport. I'll drive you to the Mayo Clinic." And just so happened, hadn't even got my rental car yet or anything. I was like, oh, I don't trust this guy. So I kind of looked into him, checked out his jiu-jitsu. Looks like a good dude. So we've been texting back and forth. So he's planning to pick me up and take. That's beautiful. This Joban Network is a real deal, man.
Yeah, it is. And I'm so glad I started a podcast because just talking about the stuff that I talk about, it holds me accountable, first of all. And then it does help a lot of these younger kids and helps them more than we even think. And I'm just, like I said, I'm just regurgitating things I've learned from other people. And then it helps them so much that they want to help out in any way they can. So it's a nice little
that's so good. Who are some coaches that impacted you, that gave you kind of a roadmap or incentive to become a coach?
It was so weird. It was so weird because I've had a bunch of great coaches. I have a great high school coach. My coach, Matthew Powers in Missoula, he was a great coach. But then I moved to Portland to train with Robert Follis. And Robert Follis was the head coach, Randy Couture, when he won the title. He ran Team Quest.
Wow.
He ran Team Quest. He was like the brain behind Team Quest when Chael was there, Matt Lindland was there, Chris Lieben was there. He trained Mike Pierce. He trained Misha Tate when she won her title. Just literally probably the smartest guy I've ever met, and I got to live with him. And I just watched how he ate, and I saw the organic foods he ate, and I saw him eating at a place called Trader Joe's, and then he had a lot of books, and he was raised a Jehovah's Witness like me.
Wow.
And his brother committed suicide, and his family just kind of shunned him because that's what they do in Jehovah's Witness. And I was carrying a lot of guilt at that time from being raised a Jehovah's Witness. And he just sat down and told me, it's like, you're not a good person because of that religion. You're a good person because you're a good person. And everything you learn, just do research for yourself. Do research for yourself and try to find out what's true for yourself. And he told me that. And he had such a big impact on me. And then it's just crazy because he was the guy so many people would go to for answers to stuff. It seemed like he always had to answer to things, and he was just the smartest guy, and he ended up committed suicide. Wow. I think 5 years or 4 years ago now. So I was like, wow, that fucking impacted me in a weird way, just because he helped me and so many people so fucking much.
Amazing.
And then he was dealing with something that no one even knew about. And then he ended up committing suicide, which was crazy.
Well, you really carried forward his spirit from what I've heard about him, what I know, and kind of a reflective situation with Sugar, it seems like, as well.
The lessons I've learned from him are so valuable. I learned a lot of stuff from Robert Follis, and I love spreading the word that he gave me for sure.
That's beautiful. That's amazing. The Patreon, I wanted to mention that too. That is an awesome thing. So you love podcasting, and it's apparent you're expanding out into the Patreon as well. I just listened to one today. Yeah, today it was a 15-minute breakdown of just kind of a very individualized, asking answers to specific questions, a lot of really deep, strong coach advice down that channel. I mean, we have hit a little quick tangent. We won't keep you too long, but you think of the greatest coaches in history, like Vince Lombardi, maybe, or somebody like that. These guys are these great leaders, these leaders in combat. I don't know, drawing a blank, like George Washington. They're in the military and stuff like that. And the people that are following those things, and you think about in that sport, in football, you parallel that to fighting, the sport of fighting. In combat, this is the ultimate. There's no weapons involved. There's no other teammate. I mean, you got your corner, but when you're in there, it's just you and that person. This is the ultimate test of man against man, and the ultimate test of athleticism and everything involved in that. So when you think of a coach, and I think it's finally starting to get recognition. We look at a coach in this combat, in the sport of MMA, that's a pretty high level of specialization that you have to be at. So when you go into something like the Patreon and you get to hear that individual stuff, it just fires me. And that thing is only $5 a month, I think, right? To register, a couple cents a day. That I love the Patreon, man. That's beautiful.
Yeah, it worked out so good with my Patreon because OnlyFans bought out the Timbo Sugar Show, so we took the Timbo Sugar Show off Patreon. But I'm like, dude, I worked so hard on that for so many years. I'm going to turn that into my own thing. So I do put a lot of effort into the Patreon, and I think there's almost 500 members on there now. So I'm enjoying doing that a lot.
Man, I love it. Good stuff, brother.
Yeah, I could be here all night. Don't rush through it. I'm good.
Right, well, here you go, man. Just lean in a little bit. I'll stay till midnight.
Yeah.
I just read this book, Think Like a Monk. Have you read that? The whole book was good, but the ending was like service, like happiness. At the end of the day, it comes down to service to others, and that's what like I hear you talk about a lot. Is it's like selfless. Like you're always your coach. Your whole life is like service to others, and then you're pretty like I've known you for 2 to 3 years, like pretty happy guy. So I think that's just like a good tip is to not like look at your, like for me when I go to the field is so stressful when it's all about me. But if I kind of detach from that and like, okay, I'm going to set the example today and I'm going to help who I can, these young Latin kids, they don't even speak English. Some of them, they don't have any money. And I find so much more joy just being service to others, and it makes it lighter. It's not so like, oh, fuck, I got to do this today. It's like, okay, I got to do my job, but also I'm going to help 6 or 7 people along the way.
Yeah, I mean, Paul Chek talks about that all the time, just being in service to others. But you do such a good job at it, even in the training room, just showing up and working hard. And when you're training jiu-jitsu and when you're training MMA, you're fully training it. There's not a practice you miss. So you do such a good job at it, just leading by example. But I truly think that was what I was put here to do, is just kind of teach and just give back knowledge. I truly think that's what I was put here to do, and I really do enjoy doing it a lot. But I also wanted to learn from Robert Follis, and I didn't want to commit myself so much that I get burnt out. I still want to have time for myself, time to learn from myself and have time for myself, so I don't get really burnt out on giving everything to everyone, and I'm just not even keeping myself sane.
Yeah.
That's beautiful, man. So go on God for a minute. We've had a little on these podcasts, just a little touch on it. And I love talking about spiritual stuff. And I've grown a lot, I think, in my spiritual journey since I've been in this community of just kind of, before I saw a church community as a place. That's the only place where it's safe with God, sort of thing. And it really broke me out of that to just see how important, and even if I study the Bible, it's talking about Jesus didn't hang out just only with religious people. He was out there, and he was out in the community. He was out, and I feel like my life has just been so blessed and so healthy, my family in so many ways. I mean, we got this business here partly because I was, stepped out of that and really grew through that. So, I forgot where I was going with that exactly, but
with God.
Yeah, there we go. God. Yeah, with God. So I was thinking, what's a time you have a background in a really religious kind of background in Jehovah's Witness, where what I've really learned over time, and I've talked to you about this before a few times, is anytime there's a hierarchy, I I feel like that is totally against, and so many Christians have ruined it too, because as soon as you start a church, it seems like somebody gets a little power hungry, start asking for money, and maybe the intentions are wrong, maybe there's some good out there, but you got this hierarchy of people out there, which that person is kind of describing who God is and what you're supposed to think about God. Has there been a time where you just were like, screw all this bullshit, and God, are you real? Just kind of reached out to him and sort of asked him to reveal himself.
Yeah, and my mom's like has so many stories about when she's done that and it's happened. Like, but for me, I'm like, if there is a God, and he looks at my life and he's looking at my thoughts, and he sees what I'm doing. He sees that I'm trying to take care of myself. I'm trying to have good relationships. I'm trying to build up the community around me. If he sees all that, and just because I'm not going by his doctrines that he wrote down, and he's going to kill me for that or send me to hell, then maybe I want to go there. I'd rather go. No. Yeah. So it's like,
I understand what you're saying for sure.
Yeah.
I feel you. Yeah. I don't want to, I see what you're saying. Like, I shift there. I kind of got a download is that just for my own life is I don't want to follow a God who's going to be like that. You know what I mean? I hope and I believe that God knows more than me. He's got an understanding greater than me, a perspective I don't even understand. Why isn't when we get into that, we take ourselves into those uncomfortable spots here at doing jiu-jitsu with the Brazilians, or this beating you up again and again, and instead of just leaving, getting fed up with the sport, you just kept moving, and that grew into something just absolutely incredible. And I think that's awesome.
Yeah, and I mean the whole like God thing, and you got to be either Christian, you got to be Muslim, you got to be Jewish, all these different things. I'm like, if you just focus on being a good person and having good relationships and taking care of your body and making right decisions, I feel like you can't go wrong there.
Right, like good versus evil.
Yeah.
Are you evil or are you good?
Yeah, and I feel like it doesn't take religion to be like that.
I agree. I think you got God with you pretty strong, man. What do I know? But
yeah,
I going through all this cancer stuff and getting deep into I feel like it's one thing I got out of it. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like I can kind of tap into a person and kind of get through that BS, you know what I mean? And you've got such an awesome spirit, man. I think whatever the belief is and wherever God is in all this, I think he comes through you real strong, brother.
Oh, thanks, bro.
I just think about, like, if you're born, let's say you're Saddam Hussein is your dad, and that's all you know. So you think, if I kill Americans, I'm going to heaven and I'm going to get 20 virgins or whatever they believe. And that's what you think. And you don't know any different. Like whatever, okay, I see an American, I'm going to kill him. I always think about that. Like, really, like, we have a choice, but you only know what you've been told. Like, it's crazy. You can, if you have a kid and you can tell them anything, you can say, well, this dog, this is the God. Our little dog is God. And then the kid, that's what they think. And
then, especially if you don't have if you have a kid who just obeys all the time, they're just going to turn into that robot you create. But if you have a kid who's kind of disobedient, then maybe he'll start getting creative and thinking other ways. And at first, it'll piss you off. But this a podcast with Tim Ferriss they just had on with Naval Ravikant and David Deutsch, they talk about that and how creativity and everything evolves from people being disobedient and not following the rules. If you just follow the rules all the time, you turn into a place like North Korea and you're just a dictatorship, and it's pretty crazy.
New Year's Eve we were it was like a downtown, they had like this big event for the ball dropping or whatever, and there was a bunch of like radical Christians out there with these signs and like bloody signs, all this. And there's this 14-year-old kid like, you're going to hell. If you don't confess your sins, you're going to hell. And I'm like, this poor kid, like, he's 14 and he's just out, he's mic'd up and just out there saying it. And his dad's right there beside him, probably making him do it.
Yeah, that's one of the most thankful things I've ever done in my life. When I was in 7th grade, that's when my parents got divorced. And my mom moved to Canada. She married another Jehovah's Witness guy, and I had this choice. And in the Jehovah's Witnesses, you're raised to, that is the truth. You are so lucky to know the truth. If you go against the truth, then and you don't surround yourself with people that are worldly people. You don't surround yourself with people that aren't in the Jehovah's Witness thing. And I was like, I'm going to go live with my dad. And I left, and I had a lot of guilt still from being raised and being programmed that that's the way, that's the truth. And leaving that, I dealt with a lot of guilt. And that's what Robert Fallis helped me get away from. But I think you're right. Like, I even asked my mom, I said, Mom, if you were born and raised a Muslim, do you think you'd be Muslim? Right. She's like, probably. I'm like, all right. Yeah. I'm like, do you think you're brainwashed? And she's like, nothing wrong with a clean brain. I'm like, that's true, Mom.
At least she's happy.
It's true. Yeah.
I would say the same thing happened to me, though, with college. It's like I was brought up, parents who didn't go to college, and they thought, all right, well, here's all these smart people who did. You and your sister, you're going to college. We're making you go to college. Yeah. And then that turned me into being like, no, fuck that. My sophomore year, I'm like, I'm not doing this. And just worked on music, and it bred creativity, like you were saying, disobedience for sure. And I stopped going to school. It was the best decision I ever made.
Even leaving college, I got so much flack from my dad because my dad was around fighters in Montana, good professional boxers who fought on TV and stuff, and they're working at car dealerships and they're slurring and they're just beat down. And my dad's like, don't not go to college. You need to go to college. You need to have a backup plan. And I'm like, sorry, I'm disobeying. I'm not doing it. Yeah. And it worked out.
And now you're a professor of a university, right?
Yeah.
This is the ultimate, honestly. This is the university I think many especially males, young males need to be at.
Yeah, I think so too. And just it does put a lot of pressure on me. People talking about it and having success, and we're having all these people like, oh, it puts a lot of pressure on me, and I'm just a normal motherfucker who makes mistakes all the time too.
Impossible.
Yeah.
So I got to know your dad and your brother a little bit. Just amazing guys. And it sounds like your dad and brother are on par with you with the whole belief stuff. And is that kind of true?
Yeah, my brother definitely. My brother's the same with me. We talk about it. We talk about the whole how they brainwash people and how they make so much money and how they don't, especially with the Jehovah's Witnesses in particular, they don't go back and look who made this religion. A guy named Charles Taze Russell in 1815. He didn't even know Greek, and he took the old Greek Bible and he formed it into his own. And now Jehovah's Witnesses are one of the richest religions out there. They don't think that deep into it. They're just like, nope, that's the truth. And anything that questions the truth is Satan working against me. What was your question again?
I forgot, but I'm off of that. The Mormon, it seems like they do have so much money that they store it up. And what gets me is if a person would read the Bible and not just listen to what somebody else is saying, if they're gonna follow that, as Jesus was like, the one time he cursed, and over again he refutes what that kind of hierarchy of religion does. So the people in that day, the Pharisees, were a lot like the Jehovah's Witness, the Mormon church, where they were like, no, I'm not here for you to follow another person. You should be following God. And I don't understand. It's almost like a delusion, almost like a cult sort of thing happens when there's a hierarchy and people aren't able to just look at, hey, actually with this thing we're following the Bible, Jesus said not to do this. You know what I mean? It's like, how does that happen?
I have so much respect for people like that. They pick their religion and they're truly that. They're like, I believe in this. I believe in this. It's almost like jiu-jitsu for me. I believe in it so much that I want to tell my friends. As soon as I meet a friend, I'm like, hey, dude, you got to come train jiu-jitsu. You're missing out on you're missing out on some shit. That's because true. It's the truth. Yeah. So people that truly believe it and truly live by it, I'm like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I think too many people though claim it
gets
because they're scared. They're scared to go to hell, so they're going to say, I'm Christian. Yeah, I'm Christian. I don't do anything that a Christian would do, and I'm doing all this fucked up shit. But yeah, I'm Christian. It's like, dude, no, you're not.
When money gets involved, it gets corrupt.
Yeah.
Like, that's anything.
Yeah. And this guy, when we did stem cells, he's one of the owners of the stem cells places. He went to a school for religious studies, and he said majority of religions are for, like, some economic purpose.
Yeah. So 3 to 5 years, where do you see yourself?
I don't even like to think where in 3 to 5 years. It makes me nervous even thinking about that. But I'm like, one thing's for sure. If I just keep my good habits throughout the week, if I just keep good habits and I keep sleeping good and I keep doing healthy shit for myself, there's no way it's not going to keep slowly improving. But if I get away from those and start doing some other shit, then who knows where it's going to go. Right. But 3 to 5 years, fuck, I have no idea. I have no idea. I don't even want to think that far ahead.
That's exciting.
Yeah, 3 years ago it was like 3 years ago now. It's fucking nuts where you guys are now. You know.
Yeah.
It's like you could have predicted it maybe, but could you have?
I mean, there's so much luck involved.
Yeah.
But luck that we set ourselves up for. There's so many different kinds of luck. There's luck like winning the lottery, but there's luck that you set yourself up for, and then when an opportunity came, you're prepared for.
Nice.
And a lot of luck happened, I guess.
Yeah. I was reading something. It was talking about luck and energy, like your habits or your daily, the things you're doing on a daily like routine, and the positions you're putting yourself in. That's an energy that you're building, and that's what is gonna like. If Sean wasn't working, he probably wasn't getting too lucky. You know what I mean? So the luck comes from the energy that you're putting into whatever you're doing.
Yeah, for sure. Hell yeah.
It's awesome to see. Maybe you can talk just a little bit about Mariah. Here, I love your guys' relationship. You have a long relationship now, like what, over 10 years going on?
In May, it'll be 14 years.
Whoa, 14 years. That's wild. And Mariah, just getting to know her over the last few years, she's just such an awesome person. One thing I was thinking about earlier today is, like, Mariah still has her blue belt, like an earlier stripage too.
She's 3 stripes.
Okay, well, it's like, man, I don't think she's ever lost, right? She's undefeated, and she's so humble. I mean, like, I hear, and even I get into this too. I'm like, oh man, I want to get my next stripe. And watching her, like when I see her train, I'm like, man, she's just here to do jiu-jitsu. She's here to get better. Little do a lot of people know, she's probably one of the best, if not one of the only undefeated persons in our gym right now. You know what I'm saying? And she's got I know she loves horses. It's such a beautiful thing. It seems like you guys you've grown something just beautiful out of this partnership. And
yeah, I'm so lucky to have, Mariah. She's so passionate about her horses. She treats those horses like any professional athlete and any other thing. She has that work ethic towards those horses, and it's her true passion. And she's a super open-minded, smart girl. We've listened to a lot of the same podcasts together, and she's her parents are that way too, very open-minded, not closed-minded, just stern people, and she got that from her parents, and she's so much help in the gym. If it wasn't for her, I'd probably be in jail from tax evasion.
My brother would have arrested you.
Evasion. Yeah, probably would have, because I'm like, I didn't know shit about taxes or any of this stuff, so she's like a lifesaver. I'm super lucky to have her, and she is good at jiu-jitsu, but jiu-jitsu is not her main passion. That's why I've kept her a blue belt for so long. But she was going to school initially to be an elementary teacher. Wow. And she was in college to do that. So now that she gets to teach kids jiu-jitsu 3 times a week, it's like, and then ride her horses on the side and just kind of keep track of the paperwork of the gym. It's her dream job. So her having her dream job and me having my dream job, it makes us both pretty happy, because before I've always had my dream job, professional fighting. I fucking love that, having my own gym, and she would have to go to a marijuana grow that her parents owned and have to work and be around miserable people, and our relationship wasn't as strong as it is now, probably.
I love watching her teach, because she's just shining and smiling and laughing when she's teaching those kids. And I think it's a gift that somebody's just kind of born with that teaching, you know. And of course, you got to develop skill and things like that.
Yeah, she's pretty stern too. She's stern. She tells us kids don't fuck around.
Don't want to mess with her.
And yeah, she does a good job. That's why I'm looking forward to eventually having a baby, because I think she'll be a good mom.
Oh, let's go.
What do you think, like, advice for a kid or even an adult that's like, I don't know what the fuck I like to do. Like, I don't know what my passion is, and they can't figure it out.
Yeah, I would just say, figure out what your interests are. What are you interested in anything? And whatever it is, try to learn that subject and try to become the best in that subject, and try to find people that are the best in that subject. And that's what your main focus and study should be. And then 10 years down the road, people will be paying you for your info for that. So find out what your interest is. And if you don't know what your interest is, like, maybe if money wasn't a thing, what would you do every single day of your life? What would you wake up and do? Maybe
or even pay to do.
Or even pay to do. Whatever your interest is, that's where you should dive in and learn as much and become an expert in that area. That's what I think.
There we go.
I think a lot of people, they'll take that approach, but they'll kind of stay isolated. Like, I'm going to take care of this on my own. I'm not ready to step out. And one thing I've seen I've really been encouraged in this community just by a lot of people in our community is you don't need to go about those passions alone. Even when we started this business, right away, it's just awesome to have this group of people here that stood alongside us, that help mutually encourage or whatever, instead of just like, we're going to go about this, we don't want to bother anybody, take it on our own. I think that step is just so vital.
Yeah, I remember you guys were scared to do it, and I was a little nervous too, because I'm like, I'm not sure how things, I don't know how good of a cook R is, and I don't know how on top of things they are, so I don't know if it's going to work out. We'll see how consistent they are with it. But you guys were consistent, and now it's such a pop-in place that I do not want to move my gym away from the recharge center.
We appreciate that. Let you do jitsu, man, pushing through that. Hey, you can accomplish anything. You train under Tim for a year, man, and you stay consistent, man, that passion stuff, you'll get on.
I think to me, it's been the best thing to realize, like, okay, if I just work hard, then I'm going to get results. Like, it's pretty, because it's super technical. So it's almost like learning a language. For me, at least, it was like, okay, when I first went in there, everybody was fucking me up. But it's just like, okay, I'm going to give it 6 months. And in 6 months, if I'm still getting my ass beat by everybody and I don't know anything, then fuck it, I would be done. And I don't like it, and then I'll be done.
Nice.
But it's, I don't know, you feel it too when you're getting better. You're not as tired. You're starting to beat people. Your confidence is growing. You're walking around the street like, hey, motherfucker. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, dude, I love seeing people that came in the door however many years ago, and now they walk in, they're super confident. And yeah, I love it. I love it. There's so many people that have came in there. Square Boy Johnny, JJ, those guys were huge pussies years ago. I'm like, I have to put you with the girls. And then the girls will still beat you up. And now they're turning into fucking animals. And I'm like, damn, I love seeing that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I was a pussy too, but I was just, my ego was too big to fake it. Like, I just faked it. Like, I was like, no.
Yeah.
Like, I fought more, not that I fought a lot, but I was fighting in high school and shit because I was a pussy. I would just hit you because I didn't want you to hit me. And I knew I was strong and probably tougher than they were. But I didn't want to fight. If anybody would have ever called me out and been like, all right, motherfucker, let's fight, I would have said, fuck, I don't know about that.
Square up? No.
But now that, like, I don't know how to fight that well, but I know how to protect myself. It's not, no, I don't want to at all. It's funny how that when you learn a little bit, then you don't want to do it. But when you don't know anything, then you're just like so quick to fucking
jump.
But I think it's fear.
Yeah,
like, you're just scared.
Yeah, for sure.
Levi just sent a message to all opposing batters this year. You better not charge the man. You barely cap.
Yeah. Or you go viral on TikTok smoking some dude.
I said, if I'm about to get cut, I'm pegging somebody. I'll build my following that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the latest going on? We're about to wrap up. What's going on with the Diamondbacks?
Fucking know. It's we leave on Saturday and rosters still aren't posted. They'll be posted on Friday. So that's how it is. It's just like last
And is every different team and organization like that, or is it just?
I've only been with the Diamondbacks. Yeah, it's just, for me, I'm throwing slow, but I'm having better results than ever. But the game is not a game of throwing slow anymore. So I'm on thin ice.
It's just they're testing your speed and.
Yeah, it's just the radar gun doesn't lie. It's easy to say, oh, that's 95, that's good. When it's not, then it's like, oh, we got to look into all this shit. He's got to have, for how I'm throwing right now, for me to progress, I would have to do it 3 times as much as like if I was throwing harder.
Damn.
So, but as of right now, I'm doing it. So
that's crazy. I mean, someone like you, because you've been pitching how long? How many years?
Fuck, since I was like 7.
That is insane that his shoulder can go through that. That torque.
And I'm fucking losing I lost a rib. I got all this shit.
Because how many surgeries you've had on that shoulder?
Just one.
Just the
but
one?
It was, I mean, that's a pretty, like, thoracic outlet is a pretty serious surgery, and it's new.
It's crazy you see some of those pitchers who clearly don't have a healthy lifestyle. They're like fat with guts and shit, but they're still fucking winging them in there.
I feel like me being so healthy is like hurt me a little bit.
I believe it.
Because but I'm like, fuck, I don't know. I don't want to sell my soul just to fucking, like I was talking to her, like, okay, I'm going to be sloppy and whatever. and I'm going to be rich in the big leagues, but I'll be fucking miserable.
But what is it though? Is it cheeseburgers? Is it the beer? What is it about that we're missing? Because and I feel like that way too. I feel like I'm so injury prone, and I'm like, I try to do everything right. I try to eat the foods that don't add a lot of inflammation to my body. I try to do all this shit, but I'm still getting injured a lot. And then you see guys who are eating like shit. They don't get injured. I see people
that don't even fucking drink water. They're 170 pounds and they're throwing 100. And it's like, me, I'm in there fucking spending so much money just trying to stay healthy.
Yeah.
And then
the thing about you though, I think like just seeing you train in MMA, literally whatever you decide to do, you're going to end up being good at.
That's because the coaches are like, bro, we don't even fucking know what to tell you. Like, you're doing everything right. Mm-hmm. And it's just not since surgery, like the velo is just not going up.
Do they not do like position changes much in baseball?
At this point, no.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, they would, but you're not. It's just
a whole different game each spot.
Right, and you're going back to rookie ball. You make $600 every 2 weeks, fucking busting around. Like, yeah,
that's a whole different world, dude.
Yeah, it's like the carnival. I mean, it's the glorified carnival in the minor leagues. You're busting town to town. You make now they just changed it, but I make like $1,000 every 2 weeks. So you're not making a ton of money. They pay for housing. They used to not pay for housing. So it's just, and you're on the road for 200 days playing 150 of them.
So if you ever had a kid, would you want to try to put him in baseball like a similar route than you did?
That's a good question. We've talked about this before. I think.
Yeah,
it's just like you put him in everything.
I wanted to do it. Like, it wasn't, my parents never forced me. Even recruiting stuff, I was committed to LSU as a freshman. I handled all that. I'm the one that like moved. I was the one that called IMG to get me to go to Florida because I moved out of my parents' house at 15. But that was all me. You
moved out they were pissed at you, or you
like I went to a boarding school, sports only boarding school. Yeah, for baseball.
Damn. And how much was that boarding school all year?
I was on financial aid, which is like they make it work. But normally it would be $80,000 a year.
Holy shit. So $80,000 a year for a boarding school. And what was the training like there? Was the training like pretty scheduled and dialed in?
Yeah, so it was school 7:30 to like noon, and then sport would start at like 1:30. But you would go dorms to school, and then they would have cafeteria and nutrition in there. They got your plates all dialed in, like what you need to eat.
That's pretty badass.
And then sport, and then you'd lift at like 4 to 5. Then you'd have like vision training, nutrition training, maybe yoga. And then study hall at 7:30 to 9.
So would you want to put your kid in something like that?
If he
wanted to?
Yeah. If he wanted to.
Do you know a lot of buddies that are in the big leagues now from that school that you went to school with?
Not as much as you would think.
Really? They just get burnt?
A lot of burnt out. And then a lot of, it's very, like that school makes you very selfish because you're not, no, you don't know anyone. Mm-hmm. Half my team's from another fucking country.
And no girls?
No, there's girls.
Damn.
Yeah.
And they're athletes?
Yeah. Yeah, so there's some. Yeah. Yeah. But it's just, the sport it's a job from freshman year. So now it's like, it's a job now, but when you go to a school like that, it's already a job. For me, it was a job. Like we were taking it pretty serious like when I was like 13, 14.
That's crazy.
Like traveling all around. Because we were from West Virginia, so we would my parents would pick me up Friday from school. We put an air mattress in the back of the car, go to South Carolina, because the baseball in West Virginia is not great. So we go to South Carolina every weekend, play Friday, Saturday, Sunday, drive home. Parents would go to work. And then.
So it was a boarding school for baseball?
For all sports.
Oh, all sports.
Yeah.
And they produce some NFL.
I was going to say, growing up.
The biggest thing is tennis.
Yeah, I heard about it living in Chicago. IMG Academy was like the pinnacle of like, oh, you go there for football, you're a stud.
80 stacks a year though.
But I didn't know that.
Yeah, Larry King's son was there with me. There's a bunch of There's a kid. His dad was I don't even know if I'm supposed to be saying this, but his dad was like second in line in the cartel, and the security would pick him up and. They would take him to the security would walk him on the airplane, walk him off.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's pretty badass.
If Levi switched gears off of baseball, feasibility of a career in MMA.
MMA is so fucking tough because the best guys don't always make it. I mean, you gotta have a little bit of luck on your side. But I do feel with Jakar and Courtney and all the knowledge that we have, I do feel like just someone with your work ethic could go far.
Yeah.
Like I said, in whatever you decide to do.
Right.
So
I think moving in with Jakar and Courtney, those are coaches of the gym, UFC coaches, 2 UFC coaches at our gym on the MMA team. Your experience there has kind of really brought you deeper into some of that too, right?
is there anything you've kind of learned from them, or just kind of living with them as a fighter couple? Because that's probably interesting, them being a couple and both professional fighters.
Yeah, I mean, nothing
Nothing that you're not used to seeing.
I've always been so like serious about all my shit that it's just
Pretty normal.
to me, like being a pro is just like normal.
You train twice a day, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's been good. Like me and Jakar can hit mitts in the garage. I didn't know how, like, still don't know what was going on. Like, it's a question mark, my shoulder is, for baseball. And so I was just like, how can I put myself in the best position if I want to go another route? So I came here, lived with Jakar and Courtney, and trained with Nico Price. Like, I feel like for the beginning of my training, that was about as good as I could have it.
Oh, yeah. Well, for sure. For sure. Jakar's such a funny dude. Fucker's a trip, dude.
Yeah.
Great people. Well, hey, you guys got anything else for the day?
I'm good to go.
Thanks for coming on, Tim.
Dude, hell yeah. This is a nice little setup you guys got going on, too. And you got Dana. Dana worked for the Tim Sugar Show for a while. It's badass.
Doc's Beats. Heck yeah. Well, thanks so much, Tim.
Fuck yeah,
Appreciate
boys.
it, man. We just love everything about you, man. So grateful for you. Well, thanks everybody for watching episode 19 Untapped. We love you guys. Have a best.
Peace.